Hello, 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 everybody. Here we are. It is Sunday, the 18th of August, and we're doing Shine the Light. We got a really wonderful person here today, Mario Sousa. He's been around forever. I've heard him speak a few times. Really love listening to him. You're going to also. I'll turn it over to Chris because Mario's holding his phone, so he won't want to do that for an hour. Anyway, here's Chris Johnson.
Yes, his hand's going to be sore. Good morning, my brother Marty. I love you. Good morning, Mario. I love you. I know about Mario through ONPASSIVE. I don't know anything about his personal, what he's gone through. We're going to find that out here in a second, but he really is a great guy. He's an excellent speaker. And again, he's in his car. He pulled off the road, and there he is. And I'm going to hand it over to Mario Sousa. Oh, my gosh. Mario Sousa. I love you, man. I'm glad you're here. The floor is yours, brother.
Hey guys, well, Chris, Marty, thank you so much for your kind words and for what you do. Love listening to you guys every day, whether it's live most of the time on the recording, but always taking in the great content that you guys provide and the value that you bring to our ONPASSIVE community. But a little bit about me, I want to kind of take you back to I was born and raised in Toronto, Canada. Well, let me go back. I like to say I was made in Portugal, born in Canada, and I currently live in the United States, Central California to be exact. But a little bit about me. Growing up, I grew up in Toronto, and at 17 years old, I had a good childhood, great parents. My dad really had a big influence, in my life. I always felt like my dad, as I was growing up at a real young age, always gave me the feeling of love, trust, and there was just something in my dad's eye that I always felt like he really believed in me. And so at 17, I was 16. We had our family had flown out to California for a wedding, and while out in California, I met my high school sweetheart, and I would go on to go back to Canada, and for the next year, we would write and talk on the phone for the next year. And then I realized, well, if this is going to materialize, I probably need to get to California. And so at a young age, 17, which in today's age, most people go off to college at that age. But for me and my family, I made a big decision to move from Canada to California to finish school. And after school, I got married right out of high school at 18 years old. And I was married for about 13 years. And I had two beautiful boys from that marriage. They're currently 30 and 29, both living in Florida, both thriving today. But I went on to get divorced in 2006. It was a very difficult time in my life. A lot of searching, a lot of remembering, home, and really being faced with, what do I do with my life after having these two kids. And so going back to Canada wasn't really an option for me. I had a family to raise, and so I stayed in California, and I've just been a fighter my entire life, and I knew that at that time that I just needed to keep going. And the my in-laws from my first marriage are like parents. They were parents to me till today, probably greater parents than my own blood parents. They've done so much for me, and they've loved me like no other, and really instilled in me a lot of great values that I share with the world today. My ex-mother-in-law was a very involved in community service in the Portuguese community. A lot of people that needed to have documents signed or go to DMV and need help with translation. I always saw her in that environment of giving, of serving, and that really played a big role, in my life as well. So moving on, as I went on to get married, as I said, I had two boys. My first job legally in the U.S. was in a paper mill. And as I worked in that paper mill, it was one of the most difficult jobs of my life. You know, when paper breaks in a paper mill, you've got to go into this hot pit. It's really sweaty, nasty, and it was something that I thought I was living in hell. But I had great pride. Somebody had gotten me that job, and I was going to make the best of it. And so I was able to work my way out of that pit onto I transferred over to a box plant, and I was a box, what do I call that? A clamp truck operator, where I used to move big rolls of paper onto the machinery that would then make boxes. And I was doing that for a while, but I've always had in me this fire to figure things out. And so when I was doing that job, I was always looking for ways to make things better. Although the people around me didn't always like that about me, because sometimes it created more work, but sometimes you got to put in the time, you got to put in the work in order to see the great results. So I remember in that job, we were unloading rail cars that can come in with a bunch of big paper rolls. And when we would unload those, a lot of guys would just do it whenever they wanted. Well, one day I remember going in the office and I was asking someone, I said, what does it cost for those rail cars just to sit there? And I think we did the math, and it was something like $40,000 a month that we could probably save if we were to come up with a system to unload those rail cars in a better way. Well, I did that. I pissed off a lot of people because, again, my mind is always kind of moving to what's right. And a lot of people started to kind of call me a company man. Well, at the same time, I didn't like that. So I kind of felt like I needed to do something to respond to how people were looking at me. So I decided to get involved in the union. And boy, was that an interesting experience for me too, because on the union side, I also didn't like to see people that didn't want to work. And I was a pretty fair guy. I consider myself to be a diplomat, and I struggled in those ways as well. But one of my big honors in that, when I left that company 5 years later, was that I was able to, being a part of the union, able to negotiate a plant closure. And it was a very difficult time in my life because I saw 30, 40-year-old, 60-year-old men that had spent 30 years working for that company that didn't know what they were going to do with their lives. And I was able to, at a young age, begin to see how these companies and jobs really take a strong hold in people's lives when they don't have any other skills or anything else to do. So that impacted me greatly, but I was proud that at the end we were able to, I think that by the time everyone left, we had about 2 or 3 people that didn't have jobs. So that was really exciting. We were able to negotiate for the company to help people learn how to write resumes and whatnot. But that entire experience really kind of launched my life. I went on from there to work for a company for 16 years. Started at the bottom as a truck driver. Never had any aspiration to become a truck driver, but I did always have vision of knowing to learn certain skills in order to get to where I wanted to go. And so I thought to myself, I'm going to learn to drive this truck, not because I want to drive a truck, but because it's just part of the process. And so I went into a company called Door to Door Storage. It changed my life. I met so many great people, but I started as a truck driver, and I remember that I failed 3 times trying to get my CDL license. And on the 3rd time, I basically became an expert, and I ended up training probably at least 100 people behind me, and everyone passed on the first shot because all of my failures, I was able to systematize in my mind how to do the pre-trip and how to get through it. So there's always opportunities in what we would call failures, or falling down. And sorry, I feel like I'm a little bit all over the place. I'm just trying to remember a lot of this and try to stay within my time frame here. But then in that job, I was able to finally get my CDL. And it was funny is that once I got my license, they really didn't want me to drive because I was on the phone talking to people, and I became really good at sales naturally. For me, just talking to people, especially in that business, most people were either moving, which is extremely stressful. Somebody had passed away in their life, which is extremely stressful. So I was dealing with a lot of people that were going through a lot, and I felt really comfortable on the phone talking with people and getting them what they needed. So I really excelled. I ended up breaking records in sales, which I never really imagined. I didn't have any professional training. It just kind of came natural to me. Then from there, I was able to progress to becoming an assistant manager. And I didn't go to school because, like I mentioned, I ended up getting married right out of high school. So I didn't go to college. And so my story is a lot like Marty's. I can really relate with Marty's story about being in the corporate world and traveling because that was my life. I wound up continuing to move on in that company all the way to director of operations in 16 years. But the last 2 years, I was feeling out of integrity with that company because I knew that in 2012, I started to have a spiritual awakening of my own where a lot of things in my life didn't really make sense. The world wasn't making much sense. I was really seeking for more. At that point, I had been married and divorced. I just missed my second marriage. Hold on. So I ended up in 2007. I ended up getting remarried after my first divorce, and I was able to have a beautiful daughter from that marriage. She's currently 15 years old. The love, the apple of my eye. And that I ended up getting divorced in 2016, and that was right before the company I was with for 16 years, door to door, as a director of operations, ended up filing Chapter 11. And that was another really, really difficult experience, not just for me, but for the people in my environment. A lot of people put a lot of blood, sweat, and tears into companies, and it's always a difficult time. I had so many amazing people that worked with me, and a lot of my success was people that are always lifting me up, people that were always rooting for me, even when the world seemed like things weren't fair. I always had a great group of people. But moving on, in 2015, 16, I ended up getting divorced again, going through another difficult time, and really trying to find myself. My dad passed away in 2011. Like I said, he had a great influence in my life. I wound up meeting my twin flame soulmate, love of my life, Angie, who I'm with today, in 2017, and we've been together since. I have two beautiful bonus kids from that relationship. She's got a 15-year-old son and a 19-year-old daughter who's at the University of Tennessee. Her son's a basketball player who I have in my environment on a daily basis. Great kid. And then my daughter who lives in Livingston with her mom. And so we have a party of five, great family, love our family. They're really thriving. But moving on to how ONPASSIVE came into my life was during my time meeting Angie and 2020 COVID. Like Marty, like a lot of his stories, I got into online marketing. I was also a coach. I was really involved in a health and wellness company since 2013. I did really well. I lost over 100 pounds, changed my life. I really got to see the impact I was having on people, and I knew that that's what I needed to do. So I ended up getting all kinds of different certifications to the point today I have my own methodology called Heart Center Coaching. It's where I basically integrate all aspects of life, not just a specific problem, but really helping people integrate the spiritual, the mind, body, and spirit. And so in 2020, I was involved with online marketing and all kinds of different things that had failed. And I knew that the biggest thing that I needed was to get leads, coaching client leads. And when I found ONPASSIVE, the concept just really kind of blew my mind, right? So I listened to the original 2 recordings from Ash, and there was just something in my spirit that spoke to me to say that no matter how long this takes, this is it. This is where you need to be. This is where you will build the foundation of everything else that I was working on that wasn't quite all coming together and clicking. And I was like, if I could really come in and into this company, I really saw the vision of Ash Mafara, and I'm so grateful for those 2 videos because they went on to impact so many people. But I remember that I was so excited, and I remember I reached out to Jeffrey Morlock at the time. He was on the Leadership Council and responsible for getting speakers to speak at some of our events. Obviously, we were under 100,000 people at the time. But I remember when he was able to put me, I just need a little bit of water, 1 second. I remember when he was able to put me in front of the ONPASSIVE community initially. I got the opportunity to share 5 heart-centered leadership principles. And I remember that day that I was like, wow, not only is this company so powerful, but I reached out to a guy that, had some great leadership credentials. The leadership that I started to see that was within ONPASSIVE, guys like Marty, guys like Chris, I started to see their hearts. I was like, wow, this is absolutely incredible. And so I had no doubt that this was home from that moment. But what was really interesting about it was that I was just blown away to be able to have the opportunity to speak, kind of like I am now. I don't even think I was on a camera. It might have been just audio. But what it really taught me was I was like, wow, this is a leadership factory. You got a whole bunch of people that are coming in here, motivating each other while this company is going to build this company in the background. And it was just absolutely fascinating. Well, fast forward, that was May 20th of 2020 when ONPASSIVE found me. And again, I just knew that with everything I had, with all my dreams and goals, that the key to doing anything was traffic, was getting in front of people, but the right people. And ONPASSIVE has I've really found my soul family here. It's incredible what's happened since being in ONPASSIVE is the amount of people just being in webinars and just seeing that these are the types of people that I want to go to build the new world with. They're incredible people of all walks of life, religion, race. It just doesn't matter in ONPASSIVE. And that's at the heart of it, of, AI with heart. And the company ONPASSIVE is that people are coming here with heart. Now, we always have all kinds of different kind of people, but the majority of the people that have been here for quite a while have all been involved in this mission, engaged, and engaged could be, just keeping up with what's happening. And I can tell you my entire life has changed to the point where it's very, very difficult to focus on anything else, because I know that ONPASSIVE is going to provide so much opportunities, and the ability to have something like ONPASSIVE that can literally help my clients be able to pay for their services and actually have a vehicle is absolutely incredible. And to me, it was just like really rang true in what I was trying to do with my coaching business. And so ONPASSIVE really just, you know, paired really well. Since then, I've just been really trying to serve the community. I do a lot of all kinds of different things to stay afloat. Of course, ONPASSIVE is really at the forefront of the future of what we're doing. But when I met my girlfriend, we had a dream in 2020. This was right before I met ONPASSIVE, for something called the Vibe Tribe, where we really felt like there was so much negativity going on in the world that we really needed to bring more positivity out into the world, and it was going to be called the Vibe Tribe. Well, we have been slowly, you know, healing and going through our own journeys, and slowly really trying to figure out what that all meant when that dream came to us. And we're still working through that, and it's just been incredible since ONPASSIVE has come on to see how all the pieces are really coming together. The manifestation that's happening has just been absolutely incredible, and all we really had to do is just every single day uplift each other, uplift the world, heal ourselves, so that we can ultimately go out in the world and do our work. And that's just becoming our authentic selves, and taking these tools and taking these lessons that we've learned and moving it on the world, and letting everyone know that they can, with this vehicle, that they can do anything they want. So I'm truly grateful to Ash. Ash has obviously changed so many lives, and he continues to fight for us. And I stand behind a man who is a man of his word, who is a man that will see this company through. And I 100% stand behind him and all the leadership of ONPASSIVE. I'm truly grateful and honored for the opportunity to speak. Sorry if I was a little bit all over the place. Sometimes it's tough to build back how things have gone, and so many details. And I just hope over time that I will continue to make some of those points a little clearer. But you know, just thank you for the opportunity, and it's been a pleasure.
Oh no, you were clear, Mario.
You did
Yeah,
fantastic, Mario, no doubt.
we know. I know who
Fantastic.
Mario is now. You brought
Okay.
something up that put a memory in my head. One of the things that my mom and dad used to tell me is, you said it, you have to put in the work. And that's just not for business, or it's relationships, it's everything. Uh, you will relate to many people just because of your work ethic, and you're never quitting. But also, as I've gone through divorce is not easy. It was a very hard time for me. Uh, People are going to relate to that. You never give up, Mario. That's what I love about you. You push yourself until you get where your happiness is, and that's what you do. I was called the company man also. I ignored it. I didn't care for it, but I just said, "Hey, I'm trying to work for the company and do the right thing." Just like in passive, we're not working for the company. We're sharing this company because it's the right thing. You also said about a paper mill. I had those jobs and they sucked. Big watermelons. It was horrible. And I kept saying to myself every day is, why am I doing this to myself? And you got your, like you said, I crawled out of the pit, and you brought yourself to an amazing area. You went through some relationships. You found true love. That's just life sometimes. But Mario, bottom of my heart, thank you for sharing your story. A lot of people are going to relate to everything you just said. Marty?
Absolutely. And our lives are pretty parallel. I mean, I got in a company, I was working there, and I became shop steward and worked with the union. And yeah, it's pretty funny. And then I traveled around, and then I wound up here like you did. So I don't think anything's an accident. I think we're all where we are because we're supposed to be. It's very nice. Your story is great, Mario. And like Chris said, a lot of people are going to relate to it. And maybe a year from now or so, after ONPASSIVE is running down the track, we bring you back on and see chapter 2 and what it's done for you of what you were looking for. So thank you very much. I mean that.
Yeah,
Thank
hey
you.
Marty, just real quick, I wanted to add, because you know, my mind has kind of been all over the place. You know, when your heart gets filled with being somewhere that you're so comfortable with, it's sometimes hard to gain my own coherence. But I did want to say that I did do a lot of traveling in my life across the United States, obviously with that company before it closed. But what I wanted to say was, with And that's why I relate so much with your story, Marty, because when you talk about, you know, traveling and those years of being away from my family, so you're going through divorces and you're really having to face, are you making the right decisions for your family? And sometimes you know that you are, but it's so important for us to find our values and what's
Absolutely.
important to us, because you know we are creating our lives every single day, you know, with every thought, with every word, with every action. And that's one thing that's so important with this environment and on passive, is that you can't go wrong. You know, if you want to get around people, I'm talking about like soul connections that are going to lead you in the right direction. This is the place to be.
Absolutely, absolutely. I remember traveling and getting a phone call, and I'm in Russia, and there's things that I wish I was here, you know, to help out or get involved. Yeah, it could be a nightmare, no doubt.
Yeah.
No, I agree with you. I've meeting all the people and on passive, to me, is priceless. You can't even put a price on it because I'm meeting people all around the world. You find out how much we really have in common. And if people meet people around the world like that, it's so much better because it's not them. It's not, well, that's what they do. It's us. Everybody wants the same thing for their families and for, you know, and I think Passive was a blessing to millions, will be millions of us. So thank you very much. I mean that.
So true. No, and lastly, also, Marty, that you speak a lot about was people, obviously, when OES comes back up, creating, you know, a group. You know, I took your advice and I've been kind of branding the whole heart-centered living concept, because I believe that's on passive. On passive is heart-centered living.
Absolutely.
No matter what people are going to do in the future, that's how I kind of envision taking all of my skills and bringing it to on passive, with my background and my coaching, is really building up that brand of heart-centered living, and of knowing that anyone that gets into on passive can pretty much create anything they want with it. And that's exciting.
Absolutely.
That's exciting to be somebody that's going to promote that. And that's why, and heart-centered living, that concept came with on passive. And the whole vibe tribe I was talking about with my girlfriend and I, that have been envisioning raising the vibration of this family, uplifting people. It's all about the same things that on passive is about, and creating a community of heart-centered living, because ultimately that's what we're doing.
Yep. We were given a platform to expand who we are. And
Right.
that's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a
100%.
lot of fun.
100%.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mario.
Have a great rest of your Sunday. And
Heroes.
Mario, we'll get together again.
Heroes.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, Heroes is at 2 o'clock. It will be on YouTube channels live at 2 o'clock. So anybody's YouTube, find it and you can watch it. I'll see you all. Thank you.
Mario.
Take care, guys.
Thank you,
Love-
Mario. That was
Sunday,
fun.
guys.
Great job, buddy.
His arm's got to be killing him.